Hello, everyone. This is William Moore, and you're watching Beyond the Ties That Bind. Yesterday, I did a video on the State of the Union address, and in that video, I promised people that I'd be doing a video covering voluntarism. I'm going to do a concise video right now that covers voluntarism. It's not the video that I was hoping to get up. I was working on that video, and in the middle of doing the editing, the software program that I'm using crashed. So I am now talking to the developer about what may have happened, and as soon as that problem is rectified, I will get that video posted. However, I do want to talk about voluntarism, why people need to adopt that belief. Voluntarism in a nutshell is that no one has a higher claim to your life and property than you do. And it also encompasses recognizing that no one has a higher claim to your neighbor's life and property than your neighbor. Okay, so the official definition of voluntarism is that it's a philosophy that holds that all forms of human association should be voluntary. Pretty self explanatory. Its principal beliefs stem from the principles of self ownership and non aggression. Okay, voluntarism is the doctrine that relations among people should be by mutual consent or not at all. Okay, so you cannot force someone to do something against their will. You cannot force them to enter into a contract that they do not want to enter into. You cannot force them to use a protection that they do not want to use. Okay, take for instance, a few years ago, you had a group that went to a baker and they wanted this baker to bake a cake for them. The baker said no because he did not believe that the lifestyle they represented was in line with his worldview or his value system. So he refused service to them. So what did they do? They went to the government and they said, Mr. Big Government, I think you should go to that baker over there and make him bake us a cake. So what did the government do? The government came in and through threat of force made the baker bake the cake or pay a fine. Actually, I think what happened in one case is they had to pay a fine and bake the cake. You cannot have an entity like that, government, go in and take care of all your disputes for you. You can't have government go in and tip the scales in the favor of one group because then the scales are going to be tipped against another group. And you will not have freedom that way. Now, those people should have went and found someone else that shared their world value and shared their lack of, or their worldview and shared their lack of values with them and had that person bake their cake for them instead of forcing someone that did not agree with their lifestyle to bake a cake for them just so they could make a statement. That's not how voluntarism works. Okay, voluntarism would say, okay, I don't want to bake the cake for you, so you're going to have to find someone else. And the people would say, okay, we'll go find someone else. That's fine. We're not going to force you to do anything that you do not want to do. That's how voluntary association works, and that's how it should work. But because we have a government, it cannot work that way. Because in government, you're going to have money going under the table and other things going under the table that cause these people within government to favor one group over another. And I don't care how supposedly righteous a group is, it doesn't matter. Everything should be on a level playing field. You cannot have this all powerful government that works by threat of force going in and settling disputes among human beings. So there's also voluntarism kind of gets into the realm of anarchy. I'm going to go to the definition of anarchy here, even though I'm getting away from the use of that word, and I'll explain here in a minute why. Now, what's funny is anarchy has been redefined. The word has been redefined over the years because if we go back a couple hundred years ago, the definition is completely different than the primary definition you'll find in most dictionaries now. Now you will find anarchy definition A state of disorder due to absence or non-recognition of authority. Okay, so that is the definition that you'll find in the dictionaries now, the primary definition. If you go a few lines down, you'll find this: absence of government and absolute freedom of the individual, regarded as a political ideal. Okay, anarchy refers to the state of a society being freely constituted without authorities or a governing body. It may also refer to a society or group of people that totally rejects unjustified hierarchy. Okay, so anarchy, you have, the word monarchy, which is rule by kings. Then you have a theocracy, which is rule by the church. Then you have different archies. Well, anarchy is rule by no one. It is the belief in individual freedom. Now, I'm getting away from using that word though, and this is the reason why. It is because you have people that call themselves anarchists who are supporting Bernie Sanders. Now, how can you say that you're an anarchist, but you want a ruler? That's kind of like saying, I don't want to have kids of my own, but I'm going to have unprotected sex with different guys every night. It makes no sense. Then there's this other group of supposed anarchists who have come along now, and they do not believe in a free market. They believe that no one should tell them what to do, but everything should be provided for them. It reminds me of children who don't want their parents to tell them what to do, but want their parents to support them for the rest of their lives and provide everything for their lazy ass. So you've got these, they call them ANCOMs, anarchist communist. Makes about as much sense as tits on a bull. But anyway, so that's one reason I'm getting away from using the word anarchy and anarchist, is because there's a lot of dumbass people out there. That's just as simple as I can put it, who don't even know what the definition means. I mean, how can you support Bernie Sanders and say you're an anarchist? You're saying you want a ruler. How can you be a communist and say that you're an anarchist? Show me one communistic society that ever existed that did not have a ruler. So, that's why I'm getting away from that. I'm tending to use the word voluntarism more. Um, so if you believe in freedom, you cannot believe in government. I don't care if you believe in Sanders or you believe in Trump. One thing I do want to ask is, all of you Second Amendment people out there, weapons rights people out there, where are you right now? I mean, as far as Trump, he can push red flag laws, he can push universal background checks, take away bump stocks. And no one says a word. It's because supposedly, I guess, since the guy on your team from your party is saying this, it's okay. Like back when George W. Bush was wanting to pass gun control legislation, it was okay because he was wearing an R on his jersey. You always heard a lot of people talking about the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act under Barack Obama, how it was being renewed. You had some people talking about it when GW was, in office. And they would always criticize it, but I've noticed in the last 3 years that a lot of you freedom lovers out there, a lot of you people that say you believe in freedom, nobody's talking about how the Patriot Act now is been made permanent under Trump. No one's talking about every year the different legislation and different things that are being slipped into NDAA. No one's talking about those things. No one's talking about the government intrusion into privacy that Trump's pushing with the new legislation concerning cell phone data. So don't talk to me about freedom if you are a Trump supporter. Also, I saw something today that I thought was just absolutely asinine, crazy. Somebody was talking about animal rights activists who are pro-choice and saying that they had a heart problem, heart problem. Well, the same thing can be said about people who say that they are pro-life, yet support a candidate who carries out drone strikes that kill innocent civilians every day. Um, Complete hypocrisy. I mean, where does the craziness end? But anyway, voluntarism, the belief that all associations should be by mutual consent. It's an idea whose time has come. It's actually an idea that's been around for a long time, because if you go back in scripture, everything was created, and the creator, he gave man the power of free choice. But man doesn't even want to do that, because man has an ego problem, where the creator doesn't have an ego problem. But man wants to control everyone and take away their ability to make a free choice. Even if you're an atheist out there, and I don't, right now, I'm not here to argue, uh, you know, atheism with anyone. I do not believe, that there is no creator or no design. That's, to me, just completely crazy. I know a lot of people who are agnostic. They come to that conclusion after years of study, and I respect that. And I'm not here to argue one way or another with anyone. Anyway, everyone will find out one day when they stand in front of the Creator that he exists and that he created the earth, and he was the one who gave you free choice when man was wanting to take free choice away from you. So since the beginning, you had a doctrine of voluntarism. Even when the Creator gave the children of Israel, not the state of Israel that exists today, but the children of Israel, when they went into the land, they were free. They had no king. They had no government over them. They lived under the simple rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, respecting the Creator, his earth, and those around you. It was very simple. And that all contracts were entered into by consent. The Creator didn't even make the children of Israel enter into a contract with him by coercion or force. He showed them great signs and miracles, but he did not force them to enter into that contract. And if anyone would have a right to force someone, it would be the Creator. But man comes along and says, you know what? I want to rule over people. And people just accept it. And I think that a friend of mine, Ed, pointed out a lot of it has to do with laziness. But even in the state, or the kingdom of Israel, if you look in scripture and read 1 Samuel, I believe it's chapter 8, maybe chapter 5. I believe it's chapter 8, though. It talks about how that the Creator punished Israel with a king when they wanted a king. They wanted a king. So, in his great sense of humor, he punished them by giving them a king. They wanted government, so he punished them with government. So, voluntarism is the belief that all contracts are mutual. I cannot force you to do anything that you do not want to do. If you don't want to support the school system in the area that you live in, then you don't have to support that school system. That's what voluntarism is. And I don't believe that any person or any group should put, other people under their thumb by forcing them to pay for their pet projects, whether it be, you want to call it a police force. I just call it, revenue generation officers. Or if you want a school or fire, all these things can be done better and more efficiently by the in the public sector and by public enterprise. All of these things can be done much better and more efficiently. They can be done cheaper. Now, as far as schooling, that's not the state's responsibility. That's mom and dad's responsibility. Okay? And no one should force somebody else through the ballot and use the ballot like a bullet to force somebody else to pay for schools in an area. That's wrong. That is theft. That is delegating someone on your behalf to go and collect money by force from your neighbor to pay for your pet projects. That is wrong. You can shove your pet projects up your ass. That is wrong. Okay? I don't care how noble the pet project may seem. It is wrong to force your neighbors to pay for something that you believe in. You believe in it, you pay for it. Leave the rest of us alone. Okay? So that's voluntarism. I hope to have a better video out later on, probably within the next week or two. I'm working with the software program developer right now to see what happened with my software. And I'll probably do some shorter videos with some graphics to make sure that everything's working well before I get out the more lengthy video on voluntarism. But anyway, until next time, everyone, all of you freedom lovers, have a wonderful day. This is William Moore from Beyond the Ties That Bind. Peace.